Okay. Just testing the stream. Everything looks good. Folks, let's see if the sound is coming through. I'm pretty sure it is, but let's see.
So, what do you got? Which?
Okay. There we go. Okay, this is King Xerxes. I just discovered his channel. I don't know how long he's been on for. Let's see. He's almost got 1,000 subscribers. He's an atheist YouTuber. And I've seen several of his videos, and I'm a fan. I'll demonstrate why right here by watching one of his videos and reacting to it. Here we go.
So, what do you got? What's your argument for the existence of God?
Well, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
I believe that God created us. I believe in the Holy Scripture in its entirety, the entire 66-book anthology of the Holy Bible.
Okay.
I believe in Genesis 1:1 when it says that God created the heavens and the earth. I know this to be based on my objective reality. This seemingly strange...
His objective reality, well, his opinion goes against what science tells us. Yeah.
Symbiotic relationship I have with the trees, and that it gives me oxygen, and in return I give it carbon dioxide. So it's like, I know that
That's an evolutionary argument, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, isn't it kind of symbiosis? Symbiotic relationships. That's an aspect of evolution, if I'm not mistaken.
there's an intelligent design, so I'm willing to put all my
Well, how
chips
do you
in
know that?
It's God.
How do you know that it's intelligent?
It's a perfect order. I mean,
how is
anyone,
it perfect?
you
What do you mean by
cannot
that?
entertain the idea. I mean, I won't entertain the idea that this
I'll admit that it seems like perfect order, but that's only because humans have... There's this thing called pareidolia. Humans are hardwired by evolution to look for patterns in their environment.
this was by accident. If
Well,
you look
that's-
at even our own anatomy,
It's not by accident.
it's perfect.
It's perfect, really.
No, it's it's not perfect.
Oh,
By what metric? How do you evaluate whether or not it's perfect? Are you saying that the human anatomy couldn't be any better?
no. What I'm saying is that it's a little too perfect.
Whoa,
In the sense
hold
that-
on. I'm trying to decipher what you mean, Wesker. So
Too perfect.
when I use the word perfect, I tend to mean that this state of affairs or condition couldn't be further improved. Are you arguing that you couldn't conceive of a way to make the human anatomy better?
I mean, I wouldn't put it that way. I
Well, what
would
do you
look
mean by
more at the
perfect? What do
anatomy.
you-
No, because I'm looking. Of course, I mean, sure, better is kind of like a subjective sense because we don't even know what better is. So
Well, I
the
have a general
assumption that
idea.
sure we can make this into some transhumanist merging into some AI and make us invincible for what reason exactly? I'm not sure. I wouldn't measure it by that.
Well, so then
scale,
you
so to
agree that
speak.
the word perfect is not an informative description
No,
of the
no,
human
I'm
anatomy.
using it. I'm using perfect in the context of the order, the process, right? This kind of
about
like
the process?
chemical combustion that happens when I breathe in oxygen. It goes down my esophagus. It goes into the mitochondria of the cell.
It also
everything has
poisons you.
purpose and order. I urinate to do this. And I
Wesker, yeah, like all
defecate
of
to
these
do
things
this,
have their
and I-
flaws.
Yeah, oxygen is slowly killing us.
This
fumes
is
to do
why,
this. It's perfect.
wait, not by any like informative metric. I mean, oxygen slowly poisons us. Right? It degrades cellular meiosis,
Yep.
which is what causes aging.
Right.
Our respiratory and digestive systems share the same plumbing, leading some 30,000 people a year to choke and die when they eat. Our urinary
Well,
tract.
that-
Which I myself have done. I've choked on food and almost nearly like died. That's yeah. I wish that wasn't a thing, but it is. And if God made people that way, he's pretty fucking incompetent, in my opinion.
route
Just-
straight
I
through
mean,
the prostate.
Are you saying that death is somehow a bad thing?
Well, I mean, if you're a Christian, then you believe that God created Adam and Eve, right?
Right.
Were they immortal when they were in the garden?
At one point when they were in the garden, when God created them, yes, they were immortal.
Okay,
For as
but
long as
they
they didn't
still-
touch from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
All right, well, there's some contentions with that, but assuming that's correct, that's what you believe. Did Adam and Eve still have a respiratory and digestive?
It's crazy that Christians think that immortality was actually a thing. It's crazy to me. It doesn't make sense.
System that shared the same plumbing?
I mean, I don't know that. If you're asking me, to
Do you think that
attempt
they
to
breathe-
know maybe they did, maybe they didn't. How
So,
about
so
that?
you don't know whether or not Adam and Eve, who were ostensibly human beings, had a singular tube that was designed for breathing and
Right,
eating.
I don't have access to that knowledge, but that wasn't even the point of why I brought it up. In the sense that our objective reality, to include our physical anatomy, has intelligent design to it, and you cannot.
I don't recognize. I don't see any intelligent design.
That's just an assumption. That can't be proven.
I seen
Well,
natural
then
selection
you're
and
willfully
happenstance.
ignorant. With all the
But, well,
respect,
no,
you're
that's
willfully
not-
ignorant.
That's not very fair, Wesker.
No,
because
it is very
I
fair
can give
because-
you like an endless list of things that could have been done better. So if you believe in a being that is omnipotent and had some purpose or goal behind creating us, like why would it not optimize the human anatomy so that we don't choke and die on our food and that we don't develop
What other
prostate
purpose
cancer?
does oxygen have aside from survival? What other purpose is us breathing in oxygen?
What do you mean? Like oxygen is a gas, it's flammable, it can be
We don't breathe in just oxygen, so that's the thing. It's a mixture of many gases.
used to ignite fires.
It keeps us alive, right? It is our kind of like our ATP.
yes,
our
and it also
adrenal
slowly
triphosphate.
poisons us.
It batteries us.
If you
Well,
if you
it
breathe
ages
pure
us,
oxygen,
sure.
it can cause aneurysms and embolisms in your body.
Correct. It ages us, and there is an order, and there's a chaos to that order. Meaning, if you hold
Yeah,
your
so it
breath
just seems
or
random and happenstance. It doesn't
underwater-
seem intentionally designed.
Well, it is intentional in the sense that we're mammals, right? We're land mammals. We're not supposed to be in the ocean or in the water. So there's an intention behind that. There's trees that gives us oxygen. There's water that we need every 3 days. If you don't have it, you die.
Well, okay, on that subject, the Earth is actually 71% water, or 79% water, I should say. Or is it 71? It's 71. 71% water, but less than 0.001% of that water is fresh water that we can drink. So the majority of our planet is non-potable liquid that we cannot consume. It would kill us if we drank salt water.
And he's kind of wrong about that. Not 3 days. It would take about a week, maybe a little longer, for us to die without water. So, yeah.
That doesn't seem
So-
very intelligent. If God was designing the world for the purposes of having us survive and thrive, why would one of the most necessary substances to our existence be so finite?
Okay, I don't know the answers to all those questions, but I would like to ask you one thing. What is it about God, like the existence of an intelligent designer, God, that is uneasy to you? Is it the lack of accountability? Do you not
uneasy?
want to be accountable? Is it something that you're
No,
running
no, 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 no,
from?
no, no. Okay,
Like, I'm
Wes,
just
I hear theists bring up this argument a lot. What are you afraid of, dude? You afraid of something? And no. If anything, theists are afraid. I mean, I know that they don't want to be seen as animals. I know that. I've been on. I've talked to a couple of theists and tried to float the idea that we're animals, and they go, oh, "I'm not an animal." No way. They completely reject the notion that they could be animals, but we are. So whatever. Deal with it.
curious.
Like accountability has nothing to do with it. I just don't see any evidence that this entity exists. I don't
So
see
you're
any.
ignoring your objective reality,
I don't.
right?
I don't look at objective
you
reality
think
and
this is
see.
coincidental, right? You think it's coincidental that the Earth just so happens to be rotating around the
Wesker,
sun?
This is a fine tuning argument. I hate the fine tuning argument. It's not that it just so happens to be in a perfect. It's that's how it ended up. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It just happened the way it happened. It's not coincidental or anything. It just is.
Wesker, can you, if you're going
Perfectly
to ask me a
within the
question, can you wait till I answer before you
For sure,
follow it
for
up with
sure.
something? Okay, it's just as coincidental as your worldview. God just coincidentally happens to exist and just coincidentally happens to have the properties and characteristics that he does. And he just coincidentally happens to desire to create this particular universe over any other. And he just coincidentally instantiates it exactly this way as opposed to any other. It's all just coincidence. It's all random. I just
Unbelievable
removed
for you
the
to
added
say that,
variable of
really?
God.
No, I think theists say that God has to exist for anything to. I don't know. I think theists say that he has to exist for anything to exist. I think there's a tone for it, but I don't know what it is.
There's no way.
Why did God
I
create
mean,
this
if you can't
universe?
see this from an objective, if you can't be honest, and
Wesker,
say,
don't
no,
play
no,
this game. I just answer the question. Why did God choose to create this universe?
well, no, I will play this game because I don't look at it as a game. I'm looking at it as my perspective, right? If one can't be honest with themselves and
He's trying to make his perspective. He says it's fact. He's not. He's not presenting it as an opinion. He's presenting it as it's a fact.
look at the world around them and say, okay, there's something here. There's a perfect order to this. The temperature's just right. The air is just perfect. It allows
But it's
me to
not.
survive
It's
on a
not,
perfect planet.
Wesker.
My
The air and the
anatomy
temperature is
just-
not just right. People die from heat stroke. People die from hypothermia.
I
Like
can understand how
29% of the planet is
regions of the
land, but only
planet are
11%
hot
of that
or
is
cold.
habitable. Okay?
But why do we shiver then? Why do we sweat?
Because we get too hot or we get too cold.
Right, but it's
To go further in depth, we shiver. Well, because we're too cold, we're trying to warm up. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I didn't. Never mind, I won't go into more detail. King's Rossi does it perfectly. I don't need to go into it.
isn't that perfect?
No, it's not. It's
Is it-
not
no,
perfect because
it's
despite the fact that we
adaptation to the
sweat,
environment.
we can
Wow.
still die from heat exhaustion. Despite the fact that we shiver,
The adaptation to our environment. Adaptation. Guess what, dude? Adaptation is an aspect of evolution.
we can still die from hypothermia. This
So we
planet
have
was
physical
not
adaptation
molded
to
for the purposes
environment
of
that
human
just so happened
survival.
to be here. That's unbelievable.
What just so happened to be here?
So we have all of these physical adaptations to an environment that just so coincidentally happened to be here.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
called
just so
natural selection.
coincidentally, that's
99% of all
unbelievable.
the species that have ever existed have been brutally retired from existence. Species still go extinct every day because they're not suitable for their environment. Humans just happen to be really good thinkers, and so we've developed technology that allows us to bend the environment to our will. But physiologically, we are very poorly suited to our environments. I mean, even temperate environments like, the Midwest.
If we didn't have houses and air conditioning and heating, even, you know how many millions of people would die? It'd be nuts.
Would still be very harsh on us if we didn't have technology
We're perfectly
in order
suited.
to escape the elements. So no, we're not perfect because we're
I am
constantly trying
perfect.
to
No, I
improve.
can understand how I can die from
Wesker,
the
if you were
environment
perfect,
around me.
then why would you need to eat or sleep or
I
use
am
the bathroom?
okay because those things are for recovery, so that
Why?
I
Why
can
do you need to
function in
recover?
that state.
Why do you need to
Because
recover?
we're not plugged into anything.
Recovery from what? It's
If I jump in the air, I don't have
So
anything
what? So
plugged
what?
into
An
me.
omnipotent creator
So
doesn't
if
need
you
to
understand
create
the
things that
science of
follow a certain set of
ATP,
rules.
you need to rest to recover.
Yeah, Wesker, that would be designed by your God. He intentionally created
Right.
us having
To keep going.
to need to recover. He could have
Correct.
not done that. He could have created us not needing to eat or not needing to breathe,
And
not needing to
then you would
drink.
need to be plugged into a wall outlet.
Why would
no, you wouldn't actually. If God is all powerful, He could make humans so they didn't have to eat at all. Actually,
you need to be plugged into a wall
Because
outlet?
there'll be no biological
So what?
anatomy
God's
present.
omnipotent. He can
The-
just create us however he
There's
wants.
something significant about death, meaning you
Wesker,
need
are
to be
you?
created in order to die. You learn your lesson and then you die.
Yeah, this is
If God intended
Wesker.
for
This
us
is
to be
just like
some
a complete mess of
transhumanists,
assumptions, man.
invincible android robots, then he would have created us as such. But there was a reason why he
It's a
didn't
cop
do
out,
that.
Wesker. If
No,
your argument,
that's a
it is
cop
Wesker,
out.
Wesker,
purpose.
if your argument is that
it's a giant cop out.
it appears to be the case that humans are optimized in such a way that it could only have happened via intelligent design, you don't have the right to then argue that if God made us any better, that would be problematic. That's preposterous. He's
Okay, I
omnipotent.
would
He can do
argue that
whatever
if
he
God wanted us
wants.
to live here on this planet forever, he would have created us better. How about that? If that satisfies you enough.
Well,
I
then
would
that
argue
just,
also.
based on what we understand about, biological evolution and natural selection, what we see matches that. Evolution explains our anatomy and our physiology and our sense responses to certain environmental conditions far better than an omnipotent God that wanted to create humans specifically and wanted us to thrive on this little planet that we live on. But when the minority of our planet is even capable of sustaining us, and people die by the millions every year from
Yeah.
diseases, natural disasters, exposure to the elements, no, I do not recognize that as perfect intelligent design. If somebody or something intentionally designed this system, they did a horribly incompetent job at that.
Every year, thousands of people die from hurricanes and tornadoes and volcanoes and earthquakes. And if there was a perfect God like that, he wouldn't allow that to happen. But evolution and I don't know how to put it. The geologic processes of our Earth and weather patterns and climate. That's planetary evolution.
I could have done it
You're
better.
applying, because the only reason you're saying that is because you're applying death to mean something evil or wrong or an error of some kind. But I guarantee you that if you were walking about the woods and you just so happened to fall in a hole and you couldn't get out of that hole because there was no one left on planet Earth to rescue you from that hole, and you were stuck there, that you would be begging for death to get you out of that, because death is graceful and that it allows you an escape into the realm of the spiritual,
Well,
which is
yeah,
heaven
if
or
I'm
hell.
if I'm
So
like experiencing immense suffering, then yeah, I want that suffering to stop. But if the
then
only
it will be a
way,
good thing,
if
correct?
the if
Right.
the
It will be a
hold
good
on,
thing.
Wesker, if the only way to stop that suffering is death, then yeah, I'll pick that.
Is it a good thing if you're not suffering immensely? I mean, that's what I would ask him.
But most of the time, people don't encounter situations wherein their suffering overrides their instinct to survive. But again, this is just cope, because if God created your suggestion, your argument is that God specifically created the world around us to sustain human life. When I point out to
For a
you
time.
the
For a
many
time and a
many
season,
ways
correct.
that it doesn't do that, okay, but it's never a consistent way, right? It's not like God created the world to sustain human life for 80 years. Some people live much longer than that. Some people don't live nearly that long. People die at a wide variety of different age ranges, completely random. There could be car accidents, infantile diseases, murder. You could get poisoned. You could fall off of something really high. There are a bunch of different ways for you to die, and none of it is consistent. You can't argue that God has some innate or intelligible purpose to why he created us, but then also concede that the random appearance of our life and death on this planet is also part of that design. You don't get to have it both ways.
Then how do
What
you explain love? Like, do you think
it's
love
a
is a
it's a it's a
coincidence?
it's a neurophenomenon wherein people form attachments to other people or things as a survival
Pell bonding, yeah, it's definitely exactly.
mechanism.
For survival, right? For civilization to thrive, for us to defend each other.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this has to do with God, though.
Because there's
Sounds like an emotional response to me, an appeal to emotion.
a purpose behind everything around us, to include love, to include why you shiver, to include why you breathe in from the trees, to include why the earth just so happens to rotate around the sun, supposedly. So it's just you have to look and open up your eyes to the
Wait a
majesty of
minute. Supposedly? Is this dude upside auto? Or does he not believe that the sun is a thing? Or I would have dug a little more into that. That's interesting.
God and say, wow, wait a minute, hold on for a second. There is something here. And to deny that for a second would be to ignore your objective reality and say, you know what,
No,
I'm
I,
just
I
going to
look at
throw
my
all of
objective
this
reality.
away and
If
just
if
forfeit it.
Wesker, if you want to play that game, then I am equally as justified in attributing all of the horrible bad things that happen to people on a day-to-day basis, as you are just simply focusing on the good things or what you perceive to be
I
good.
can understand how human beings who subscribe to malevolent behaviors and actions can do very horrible things. I
I'm not
totally
talking
get
about
it.
human behaviors. What about
Christianity has led to human beings doing absolutely abhorrent, violent, vicious things.
Well,
bone
that's where
cancer
the
in
source of evil
kids?
comes from because it's not the animals committing this.
No. I'm just talking
It's
about natural consequences of existence. Like genetic
Humans are animals.
diseases. What's up with that, man?
genetic diseases are a defect based
Yeah,
on
you're right. They would have been intentionally created by God to cause certain people to suffer from the day they were born. What's up with that?
because God is a God of order, and when you
Why is
instill
that
or
orderly?
introduce because when you introduce chaos by maybe taking in something that you're not supposed to from the earth, like you start mixing and through alchemy taking in alcohol and your baby comes out with a defect, that was you.
Yeah, that's not
That
what I'm
was you, the
talking
human
about. Like
being.
fetal
If I
alcohol.
jump
That's not the only way both defects happen, is through substances. It happens naturally all the time, dude.
over a
Wesker, I'm not
cliff or if I go
Wesker.
into
I'm not
the
talking about
icy
fetal alcohol
ocean.
syndrome. Do you know what endogenous retroviruses are?
Okay, I can understand how there are
Wesker, can
defects
you
that
answer my
exist.
question? Do you
No,
know what
I don't
endogenous
because I'm not a
retroviruses are?
scientist or
Okay.
whatever that
Well, endogenous
classification falls under.
retroviruses are in certain segments of our genetic code, specifically on our chromosomes, wherein past viral infections have relayed or implanted their DNA into our DNA sequence, which causes certain diseases, things like
Okay,
ALS, Huntington's chorea, muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. These are all things that happen because of
Autism.
like corruptions in our genetic sequence. Nothing that any of us decided to do caused that. These things have existed since the dawn of humankind, prior to technology, prior to, all these poisonous substances that we create for the purposes of like fossil fuels and whatnot. None of these contaminations or pollutants existed thousands of years ago, but these diseases did. And if you believe in an omnipotent entity, he created those diseases intentionally and implanted them into our genetic sequence on purpose.
Right. I believe that God did create those things to prevent chaos. And if you deviate from
I don't
order,
even know
That isn't. Okay.
what
you will
order and
get
chaos
punished for
mean in
that.
this context.
Yeah,
These are just
because
meaningless
that's
words,
God's
Wesker.
way of that's God's way of getting rid of or punishing people who don't obey order. Right?
But-
you can't have incest and then expect your baby to come out perfectly in order.
None of
You
these
can't do
things are not the
things to your
consequence of
body and your
incest,
temple,
Wesker.
you
Wesker,
defile it and
these are
expect your
genetic
baby to come out
diseases
normal.
that people are born with, absent any
And where did
choice
they
they
come
made in
from?
the matter.
Are you saying that these genetic diseases came from what? The mother, the father?
Completely natural.
They're the
doing
result
anything.
of they're the result of corruption in the genes. They're not diseases
I'm
that
sure
you
there's a
developed
reason why
by
it became
in
corrupted in
taking
the first
poisonous
place.
substances.
Some genealogy, right? Some genealogy through your family, something went wrong. I don't have access to all those files.
Yeah, but the
If I
only way
did, I
you would
could
be able to
probably
make
point
that
it out.
argument is if you
Yeah.
accept
I
common
can say your
descent.
great grandfather. There's why that genetic defect happened.
Wesker, we all
Right, you're
the problem
poking-
is
you're
that
poking
every
yourself
human
with
being
needles.
on
Okay,
Earth
there you
possesses
go,
the
that's
same
why.
endogenous retroviruses.
The flu shot. That's why.
Wesker, every human being on the planet possesses some of the same endogenous retroviruses.
Yes.
I'm sure they came from somewhere. I don't think God created it. God created the possibility of these things happening, sure. Because
So on one hand, you have an omnipotent
That's
entity that
it.
controls all circumstances and conditions of the world, so much so that you think it's perfect. On the other hand, there are these countless corruptions and disarray in the world that you want to ignore. That's just
Uh,
intellectually
not ignoring
dishonest,
it.
and
No,
I'm
I'm
not
actually
interested in that
highlighting it
conversation. Have a
it's
good day.
command-
It's awesome. I love how he argues. I love how he debates. It's just, he's awesome. Again, it's King Xerxes. Let's scroll down a little bit. Show you his channel icon and everything. King Xerxes has about almost 1,000 subscribers. I'm a fan. I've watched several of its videos. Make sure if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to him too. Leave the comment Brandon sent me too. Just for the fuck of it. Just say Brandon sent me. That's it. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.